right, so we have a closing keynote that I think you guys are going to enjoy tremendously. How many of you work inside of an organization where you're the evangelist for online video and perhaps you're struggling a little bit getting the rest of your organization? You don't have to say what organization, but you'd like to sort of help pass that influence up. Okay, well that's great, because we have the closing keynote is your company's culture killing your video marketing potential. And I think this will be quite interesting. We have Sourabh Kothari from Cisco and Peter Medlock from Grainger. And so I'd like to bring them on up and do their thing.
What up, guys? How are you? Doing good? Have fun last 2 days? Awesome. The coolest part about being the closing speaker is we get to have fun because we're all tired, right? So I just want to show you that creativity is really in my heart, right? And Sourabh's really going to kick this off, but clearly you can see that we have the cleanest, most minimal design going on that really gets the point across simply, right? So Android and iPhone has really led this charge, you know, that design mentality. So we're going to get this kicked off. Super simple. So go right ahead, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. And I want to be clear about this because the pairing was not by choice. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. It happens, right? You do professionally what you're asked to do.
Yes.
I think all of you know that. You're video marketers, right? He is a creative genius. I'm all business. And so Mark said, that's what I want. I want to close with the creativity and the business. And I want you to dress in a suit. So I had to go find one. I had to get it dry cleaned. And I hope you're happy.
Where's the tie?
I will not wear a tie.
I never said that.
Anyway. So I'm gonna kick right into this, and Peter's right. I can't take any claim for the brilliance you're gonna see visually. It's not my skill set. All right, so let's start with the question: is your company's culture killing your video marketing potential? If you could say yes to that, and I won't ask what your company is, so please be honest. Please raise your hand. Okay, how many would definitely say no? My company's culture is not killing my video marketing potential.
That's relieving.
Yeah,
wow.
That's great.
Nice.
We should continue.
Mm-hmm.
And how many would say, I'm not sure, and I'm not entirely sure what that even means?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
honesty, that's great.
Exactly. So for the 60% of the room that did not raise their hand, what up? Are we not asking the right question, or are you just, there's only one presentation left, okay? Please participate.
Killing is a strong word.
Is it? All right. Thank you for that. And this is exactly the interactivity we want. In most cases, I'll repeat the question if possible, because I was born with a very loud voice. Peter, anything you want to add before we start here?
Not at all. Move on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is culture, something we haven't really talked about in the last 48 hours, and we'll get to video. But there are at least a dozen ways to define a culture, a company's culture, an organization's culture. Yeah. All right. There are 6 components that make up a corporate culture. Okay? Of these components, I don't think I really need to explain most of these. You get the vision. It's the why your organization or company exists, right? You get the values. I'm actually not going to even read them. The ones we're going to focus on are the people, the who, and the narrative, given what all of you do. And the way that that's been described in, again, visual brilliance is your history shortened down to your story. So I'm going to ask another question, and I hope people put their hands up, just please to humor us, because I found this suit for this presentation. How many people know who founded your company? How many people know the spouse of who founded your company?
Wow.
Nice.
That's good.
And how many people know your current revenue? Nice. There are a lot of people
is
here that
impressive.
deal in narratives. Yeah, okay. And a lot of people working for themselves. That's a good point.
And have wives. And have wives.
I was about to say.
That's where it is.
How many people here work for themselves? Okay, good. Those are the same people who put their hands up for the spouse, by the way.
How many people here work for their wives? Yeah. Yep.
Can I put my hand up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay, so culture. We're going to look at the components of corporate culture and what that does to someone in a video marketing role. Okay? By the way, every time you see a slide like this, you know what it means, right? Animation
It's coming.
hell.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Peter, this is where I'm going to hand it back to you. I'll just do the click.
Awesome. I'm really excited about this, guys. I've never had the clicker. Somebody usually runs it, or you have it on your own laptop, so I'm actually really, really stoked about this. So if I start abusing it, let me know, please. First off, yep. No, Mickey was just moving. Don't worry about that. You've got 4 stages. That one it animated too. You've got a novelty, right? An agency. That's what I'm going to focus on, right? So just a little background that will build all this out is I started with Grainger about 3.5 years ago. Grainger's an industrial supplier. It's an 87-year-old company. It started in 1927. Mr. Grainger, Sr., sold motors out of his trunk, literally out of his trunk. In the 20s, electric little motors, and built it up, and c'est la vie, we're here today, right? But his ethos was always customer service, and that out-of-the-trunk mentality was him traveling, right? Going and seeing people on their location, figuring out what they needed, and so on and so forth. So when I heard that, I also heard a speech on YouTube by our current CEO, Jim Ryan, in which he said, "This is no longer your grandfather's Grainger." And what really resonated with me on that was that it was moving. There was a shift. There was a generational shift, a cultural shift, a thinking shift. And that's really why I took the job. I came on board as a senior web designer and developer, doing things for the website. It was great. And novelty, that went the other way. Novelty-wise, someone asked me one day randomly, hey, is there any chance, I've got this video, can you lop the end off of it and put somebody else's logo in it? I know tons of people in this room have been in that spot. So I did, and when I was done with it, I gave it back to the requester, and I was like, hey, I could reshoot this in about a day and a half, and we could make it really cool, right? So I did, and 6 months later, I was asked to start a department. So that was exciting. I hired a bunch of people, and we started an internal agency, right? And I came to this summit a year ago today and learned a whole bunch of stuff, met a whole bunch of great people. Everybody knows Mark. He's awesome. And learned tons of things from Susie Ryder at YouTube and Google folks and so on and so forth, and went back and applied that. And our big test case was 2 things. 2 series, one in which was emotional content, because that touched my heart, right? I'm totally into it. I'm a weird artist and stuff like that. And the other was the company's focus, selling product. We're an industrial supplier. We sell product. That's all we do. We have services and resources, but our main thing is selling product to help our customers. And that was key. So I had 2 series, and I'm going to show them to you. Just little shorts, hoping that my advertising power will get you onto YouTube to check out the full series. That's youtube.com/Grainger. And hopefully you see where I'm going with it, and I don't have to explain it, even though I'm going to. So without further ado, I think it's this button.
We're getting ready to walk on into the Medal of Honor, and up on the glass plaques you can see the 3,500 plus men and women who have earned the Medal of Honor, and we're still in the process of adding the new ones. You can see the Medal of Honors. We have one for the Army, one for the Air Force. The Navy administers 2, one for the sailors, Navy, and then one for the Marines. And in my talks with the Medal of Honor, you'll never hear them refer to themselves as heroes. They'll say the heroes are the men and women who died on the battlefield, and they wear that medal in their honor of those who gave their lives.
Awesome, right? Very simple 30 spot. You can see the CTA is go watch more. Hopefully, you're going to go watch more. But that series is called Everyday Heroes. It started with Lauren O'Malley and Austin Rink and I, and several other people in Grainger, coming up with an idea in which we can engage, right? This is very much, case in point, a spotlight into our customer's life, into what they do every day and what they're all about, right? Making that a true emotional connection. Now, you're probably saying that was a museum and that's the Medal of Honor. What's the connection there? That actual episode and the other episodes that you'll find was a whim. And this is the agency mentality of my organization, which I have to commend, again, Lauren and Austin, on go-getters, right? And I think I just talked to someone about being an entrepreneurial spirit, right? That started and happened because a seller called us and said, we want to take photos. Is that okay? And I said, whoa, back up. The real story was that they were painting a ship, an aircraft carrier, and using a supplier of ours and us as a partnership. And we solved all their problems, and it's great, and great. Fantastic, good. There's a customer testimonial there. What Lauren and Austin then did, and we strategized to do, was, okay, go tell that story. That's great. Rust-Oleum's wonderful. We work in partnership with them all the time. But there are more stories there. There are people that work in the Maritime Museum where this boat is at. And we want to tell their stories too, because they're painting the boat. They're telling these people that visit all about this ship. Why is this ship important? Because Grainger's been around through those wars. Huge, right? Pretty impactful. Let's see the next one. It's totally short.
Every man I know has at least the Purple Heart. That's how serious our casualties were. Because when you're at this for 82 days, and you're in an atmosphere that anything you do could get you killed, to survive all of that, it's not good planning, it's just good luck.
So again, some pretty powerful stuff, right? And a little, I get it, it could be a little bit depressing. It's late on a Friday, everybody wants to get out of here, that's fine. But Dick Whitaker's real story is that he survived. He goes into great detail about his company and troop going from hundreds to 60. Some very compelling stories. And we highlight him because he is our customer. He was our customer. He is going to be our customer. And not only that, but the military touches everyone's lives, right? And this is not, you can clearly see this is not, let's tell this emotional story and then sell some product. Woo! It's brand awareness, right? And that's a touchy situation with brands, and I know all of you feel that. Grainger is backed, is behind the military, behind military support. It's what this country is based on. And we honor that by telling their story with this. We have one more, right? I do have one more, don't I?
Right where that hatch is going down in the forward fire room, we call them snipes. The engineers were called snipes, okay. Be a snipe with his head stuck up. As soon as the baker went back in there, somebody grabbed him a couple of loaves of that hot bread, back down in the hole. That was commonplace.
So again, this one is not as depressing, right? Totally uplifting. Wonderful. Hoot was a treat. He walked us through the whole place, and his real name, I believe, was Hoot, which is hilarious because my father's nickname was Hoot. So very odd when they said, let's talk to Hoot for the first time. Hoot's story was compelling as well. He was through war and chose to be a volunteer here, which touches me Very much. My father passed away when I was very young, and he was military as well. But he was a historian, and he drove me to major in history and philosophy and so on and so forth. So really great stuff, right? End all be all, we went there with one destination to shoot one testimonial of our customer and our solution, right? And we came out with 6 different pieces. We built an entire campaign behind it randomly and got some of the best metrics we've ever seen. Over 500,000 impressions via Facebook. I know that's a touchy subject in this room, but our customer base is there. That's really where they're at. YouTube is the big push that we do, but it's not up yet, right? It's not going for us yet. Our audience, which is key in this, is still Facebook. They're still on YouTube, but we're getting great engagement across all of them. And this is 3 times the amount of engagement than you would get on a product video. Because for us, our guys are looking to get entertained. They work all day, right? But with that, like I said, I had to start 2 series. So we started another one, and Austin Rink really drove it home. I keep name dropping because I couldn't get him here for this, and I really respect him immensely. Austin took this and ran with it, and this is very much not a product video. It is a category review. So let's see that one. What about product? We did exactly that.
Hi everyone, I'm Tom and welcome to the Grainger Workbench. Today I want to introduce you to a really great tool, automatic locking pliers. With traditional locking pliers, when I move them to a new surface, I have to make the appropriate adjustments. So to demonstrate, in this scenario, to clamp these materials together, I place the pliers on the materials and then tighten the grip by using the screw here. Then when I have to move the pliers to another location with a different thickness, I have to go through the same steps to adjust the size of the grip to get the right tension.
Great, right? Get it across. You're getting a category across, you're talking all about it. Product videos for us don't work unless they're already deciding to buy, right? Now, the big problem with all this is that if you're too detailed, you come off as an expert and people don't agree. If you're not detailed enough, you get bombarded by the community because you're giving them nothing. They know what vice grips are, right? But those close-ups, the way that we shot this got us 6 times the engagement a product video would, but almost 50% less than the Everyday Heroes series. It's pretty epic, right? These 2 run concurrently, and I learned all about that last year here, and it's our big giant A/B test. But what it's all about from there, I mean, only you can speak to, right?
Oh, okay. No pressure.
I pushed the button for you.
That's all right.
You get
Thank
to
you.
push it again.
That's
Is
all
that
right.
cool?
Yeah, I'm all business. I'll take over. You're
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Show the stats.
In case you missed it the first time. And in case you're wondering, every single PowerPoint cliche is in this presentation. Again, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it from agency through studio to media company. And you might be wondering, why is a brand talking about a media company? Oh, because brands are going to be media companies. Really? Are we? If all the brands you knew were media companies, what would the media industry look like? Not very profitable, would it? Right? So, from that perspective, how many people here work for a brand? Ooh, that's funny. You're all sitting in the same location, too. Huh. Okay. And how many people are responsible for another brand's videos? Interesting. Okay. So this categorization of moving from a novelty to an agency to a studio, and it's funny for a brand to talk about being a studio, but the description that we provided, which is always classic PowerPoint, use famous images and then put the bullet points underneath, is that when you're in an agency, you are categorically valued. Your priorities are set generally as a cost center. We need to spend money on something, and you're the experts to spend this money, so you drive the best deal you can for us. But that's the goal there, is that we need to spend money on this because we believe it'll drive some return. When you move into the studio model, and again, this is our opinions, you move into what we call a revenue center. You are monetizing through video. The video is driving revenue. And we'll get to studio, or we'll get to media at the end. And if we don't, that's okay. There are plenty of media companies here. But the idea of a media company is that you are not a revenue center, you are a profit center. Dollar for dollar, what you put into your content, you make money on what you put into your content. If you don't do that, you are not a media company. And I'll sum up media company because I will go deep on studio in just a second here. The real difference, and a number of companies are on this verge of being a studio or being a media company. If you are a media company, you need to find and own an audience. And I'm preaching to the choir here. I don't know how well you guys sing, but it's a phrase. The media company will own an audience. And when I say own, it will own. People will pay you to get access to that audience. That defines you as a media company. How many brands get paid by other people to get access to their audience? None. So you can make money from the audience for your own purposes or for your partner ecosystem. And that's what I'm defining as a studio. So, what does that mean for Cisco? And what does that mean for me and the team that works in Cisco in rich media marketing? By the way, it would be called video marketing at any other company, except we do a lot of interactive technology. We own this thing called WebEx. Yeah, if you've ever heard of WebEx, you would know WebEx. It's a category later, but no product pitches here. And apart from WebEx, we do a ton of webcasting. So they decided that the smarter name would be rich media marketing. Don't just define it as video. And we're cool with that. What does it mean to be a studio? I'm going to start by talking about our audiences. You know, because I guess we should pay some attention to audience, right? So this is our YouTube audience. These are different video types, different programs that we have on YouTube. And we get a lot of attention on YouTube from our audience. Now again, our audience is mostly IT professionals, their management or senior management, and business people who don't like working with IT but act like IT. So, and you know who you are, right? Well, you go out and buy technology solutions and you don't tell IT, and then IT shows up one day and say, what, WTF? What are you doing? We had to look up the network analytics and it came to you. What are you running under your desk? It's just a server with special applications. You know? So that is part of our audience as well. Because clearly you know how to deploy technology. And that's what we sell. We are an engineering company, right? That's what Cisco does. It's technology. So from that perspective, our views are not that high on YouTube. If you squint and look at the numbers, you're looking at thousands, a few tens of thousands, not 6 digits, not 7 figures. And frankly, given what my focus is, right? My focus is to make money from the content. That's fine. That's the big first cultural shift that we went through about 12 to 18 months ago. 2 years ago, everybody would be saying, and I'll tell you a story. This is not necessarily from Cisco. I've been doing this 15 years. So I'm going to tell you a story without naming brands. I worked at Merrill Lynch before Cisco. And I worked at a webcasting company and worked with major brands, but I won't name any of them. So the story is very simple, and this is from a few years ago. I was on a call, campaign launch call, planning call, dollars assigned. All right, we got a few $1 million. This company's got a few $1 million. We're going to go after a campaign goal. And everybody's brought in, all the experts. How are we going to do this? Let's be innovative. Let's do a campaign like we've never done it before. How many times have you been asked to do that? I'm just curious. Does anyone still get asked to do that? Do something that's never been done before? Okay. So I show up on the call, and I'm pretty junior. I'm still pretty junior. I'm just middle management. And there are people here that are managing a very large budget. And they start off and they say, our goal for this campaign is to hit 10,000 net new buyers. This is from a few years ago. Oh, okay, interesting. Anybody have any questions or ideas? So I do the obligatory wait. You let the VPs go first and the directors, right? And then if nobody speaks, then you're like, okay, let me try. And then I spoke up and I said, may I ask a question? They're like, absolutely, we want to make this interactive. Of course they do, right? And so I asked my question. These 10,000 buyers, do you have any sample job titles? That's the response I got. Then I wait for it, and then the response comes. That's a good question. You know what? Let's look into that. Let's look into some job titles. We should probably define that. Okay, all right. But I figured that no one else asking a question, let me ask another one. I was like, thank you. That was my response. May I ask another question? Like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no one else is talking. Do we have any idea of the geographic breakdown for these 10,000 buyers? That's another good question. And I had to qualify now because you don't want to be the guy that's asking difficult questions without a good reason, right, on a campaign launch call. And I said, well, it's because it costs very different amounts of money to get 10,000 buyers in India and China than it does in Canada. And they're like, no, that's a good point. We should probably figure out some geography. Where do we want the buyers? And then again, nobody asked the question, so I say, at this point, I'm just going to go for the kill. And why not, right? Worst case scenario, they fire you. And at big companies, that's a great severance. So I just went ahead and said, you know what? I'm going to ask the question. May I ask what the desired action is that we want these 10,000 net new buyers to take once they have participated in the campaign? And the call stops there. That's when they realize, okay, no more backpedaling. You know what? Let's set up a follow-up call. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. Let's set up a follow-up call. These are really good questions. I think maybe we should do a double click, and we'll come back. So this happened a few years ago. But when I started to see things about 18 to 12 months ago at Cisco, being someone of a disruptive nature with a very disruptive team, I mean, my team has been instructed and trained to not care about popularity. It helps that we're all geeks, so we were never popular to begin with. And so they're very comfortable in that situation. Every single one of us. I don't have anybody on the Rich Media Marketing team that is not a bona fide geek.
Clearly.
Exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? So we go ahead and we take it head on from 18 or 12 months ago. What results are we trying to drive? And that shifted us out of agency into studio. We started to get a lot of attention within the company because we had committed to certain goals. We took that further this year when we did something that other brands are also doing. I run a team of 30 individuals. I'm the least intelligent person in the organization, which is my success as a manager. Think about it, right? So from that perspective, what I do, what my highest level deliverable is every quarter, I have a number. I run Rich Media Marketing at Cisco, and I have a number. I have to drive a certain amount, a significantly large amount, 9 digits, of sales leads for the budget that I am provided to run Rich Media Marketing. That sounds like a sales job, but that's how we've become a studio. And when you go into a meeting and you have a VP or an SVP or a C-level executive, and they ask you to stream a luncheon, which we were asked to do recently, we'd like to live stream a luncheon from New York. Did the math, cost came out to $50,000. And we started to ask the questions, and it was clear there would be no interactivity. They didn't want to take questions from the online audience. And they were actually going to not even take questions from the live audience. So they were going to stream for an hour people eating lunch and a person speaking to people eating lunch. And the only way we could stop it is by saying, that will not help us hit our number. The $50,000 can be split into 5 separate offers that will each drive leads. So we're not going to fund it. And in that scenario, it stopped. We didn't do it. We didn't live stream a luncheon. We said we would record the presentation and post it afterwards because it's going to get a lot of on-demand views. This is our audience on Cisco.com. This is the primary audience that I work with. I am not qualified in the domain that you guys are experts in and that Peter excels in, which is the previous one, which is the free-for-all, bring it, let the world at you. No, I'm at Cisco.com. And what we do is we have tons of our ungated videos here that have higher views on our website than on YouTube. So clearly, Mark, we need to talk because we're not doing YouTube right. No, there's a reason for that. There's a reason. A lot of the people looking for our content, looking for solutions to problems that we provide, already know Cisco. And a lot of large companies or brands have this situation. In our case, we wrote the textbooks that they studied in college to get a degree in electrical engineering. I'm not using that as a phrase. We actually wrote the textbooks. We do this. And then we revise them and we distribute them to universities so that the information is available globally in any country at a very low cost. Because we know it, why not spread it? right? We're about connectedness. We have to. So from that perspective, people go to Cisco.com and they search on our website for videos. And we get a lot more views here. Isn't that strange? It's kind of a strange behavior. But for B2B companies, it makes a lot of sense. We're targeting only a certain number of individuals. Everybody else is either an influencer or I don't care. And that's a very, very mean thing to say, I don't care. But it's true. It really is, in my position, as driving revenue from this investment. I sometimes get asked, I want to do a launch video or a product video that my grandmother would understand. This would help my grandmother understand WAS, or help her understand ACI. And we have to be the people that ask the question, why? Is your grandmother going to buy this solution? Hey, maybe she's in IT. Just saying, right? What? Greg, what? So if she's in IT, then I understand why you want a video for your grandmother, right? Though you have a personal connection, you might just want to walk her through it. But the other point is she an influencer? These are the two questions. Is she a target buyer? No. Is she going to pick up the phone and call a target buyer? Or forward an email to you about the ACI video that she watched? No. Then why am I investing funds in creating a video for your grandmother to understand application-centric infrastructure? That's a good point. Those are the kind of responses you get. But that's a cultural shift, guys. That's a cultural shift. We couldn't do this until we took some of that risk. And how did we take the risk? So this is our core audience, Cisco.com. Let me give you another audience. This is internal. I might actually get in trouble for showing this. So at this point, I would like you to remember that all of these comments are my own and do not represent Cisco Systems in any manner. Okay? Recorded. Thank you. So this is our sales audience. We have over 12,000 salespeople. Most large companies do. They sell and make money, and I get paid, right? So our sales teams are very, very entrenched with their customers. That's how they became a salesperson at Cisco. They're very good at understanding the problems and delivering solutions. They don't read all the emails we send them about every latest product update and how we could be selling more. So we decided, why don't we market to sales? This is that third audience. The cultural shift here is that we are not doing, at least my team is not doing, the typical product video to sales. Here are the five benefits you need to know, right? That sounds like kind of a call script at a call center. Here are the 5 benefits. Here are the objections you're going to get. Here are the responses to the objections. Here are the referrals to other customers. Go sell.
I have a lot of those, so let's get off that.
I'll move on. What we decided to do is take 2 approaches. We do have to deliver the technical information, which is in the bottom. We do it weekly. We do 35 programs like this, where we deliver technical information to a specific niche for salespeople, and salespeople show up at the niches that they sell to. In some of these niches, there are less than 10 salespeople out of 12,000, but the session's there week after week for them. And what you put in that session, they actually watch. Programmatic content for an internal audience that drives revenue. Therefore, my responsibility as a studio, as a revenue center. The other piece, which is wildly successful, you don't really have to try that hard, is our program that actually makes fun of sales. And these are episodes. They started at under 10 minutes, now they're under 5-minute episodes. And what they do is we have 2 salespeople, one's a sales guy, one's a sales engineer, and they come up with very strong storylines that are comedic about sales and why you can't sell this product or why you may not be able to sell this, but now let's figure it out. The big cultural push there, I'm bringing it back to culture, is we always have at least one senior executive in that series. And the senior executive is not acting like a senior executive. And that is a huge, huge plus with sales. The one that I don't have here, you might see it on the playlist, I can speak about very quickly, is the talk show, where we had our head of services sales on the talk show with our salesperson, Rick the salesman. And the story there is that Rick believed that she actually works for the CIA for some reason. Rick is an odd character. And so the entire conversation changes to, what is the latest spy work you've done? and she's playing along. She plays the character beautifully. At the right moment, she delivers the sales messaging that she has to do as to why she's there and what she actually wants to tell people. So people think about selling services. Okay, good, got it. And at the end, it turns out she does work partially for the CIA, right? That's the kind of storyline. Very short, to the point. We thought the click-throughs were what we would get as testimony for the success of shifting that culture, taking ourselves a little less seriously, but getting messaging across. Turns out, salespeople have been providing direct feedback that I didn't click through to the sales kit because I actually know how to sell this. I just didn't think about it. Now I do. So you've got brand awareness, you've got product awareness, now you got sales awareness. Okay? Last audience. This is what a lot of my executives and senior management think I do. Many of them have not seen a single video that my team produces. To give you an idea of volume, we produce an offer a day, either live or on demand. And we produce an interactive session like a WebEx, which are more technical for IT folks, every 2 hours. That's the volume we do. But I can say with confidence, most of the executives we work with, where we're fighting this cultural battle, stop talking about ourselves, start talking about people that we're trying to sell to. They've not seen most of our programming. Some have seen none of it. What they want to see is this. Most people are familiar with the funnel, right? This is just a different representation of the funnel. This representation is the hottest thing in funnel work. It's attribution, right? It's content attribution. And that is just, I could probably, with Mark's help, keynote at another conference next week about this, right? Attribution is the deal, okay? Where do people come from? What happened to those people? And in the journey, what piece of content did they pick up? And then how did it affect their buying behavior? It's really easy for us to do this if we, first of all, own it. We actually decided about 9 months ago, we're going to learn marketing automation. We're a rich media company, right? We're a rich media team. That's what my team does. These guys are brilliant with video. There are people like Peter on that team. And we had to go and learn marketing automation. We had to learn how to drive personalized content offering, real-time decision-making based on profiling. We had to learn profiling. I actually led something called seamless registration to drive the identities of people online across the company. The senior manager for rich media marketing did that. Why? To drive the culture. Now, we own this. Every single thing we produce, every offer we release, we show transparent results. You can see exactly what happened. And then what happens is we end every conversation with, I have a number. And this is how I'm driving your number. So the difference here than what you've seen before in the funnel, just to give some credit to attribution and why it's important, is that this actually shows you that despite having, for example, a very large social interaction or social participation, who actually makes it all the way through? And just to sort of cut to the chase, the green is, I believe, search. The blue is native traffic from Cisco.com. Like I said, we have a lot of that. And the purple is outbound email. I cannot show you real data for obvious reasons. This is a close representation of dummy data. What you will see time and time again is most of the purchasing, and we're working towards finding even what the margins of those deals are, that's what's coming next, is in the old way of marketing. What up? What? And so we started to look at each offer. 300 registrations from social, what happened? Nothing. Then we go deeper. What is those? What are those 300 registrations? They're in our own ecosystem. They're partners and Cisco people. Okay, all right. I'm going to move on. This is not it. This audience at the executive level doesn't just want this. They want another level. It's not just one offer. It's multiple offers in a journey that they want to drive investment and attribution against. And most of you know this, right? Now think about volume. So we have to track this. If we want to drive this cultural revolution, we have to track this. That's what we do on a monthly basis, that many of them. This is now starting to look like what I do on an annual basis. There you go. That is my job. I spend a certain amount of hours every day on this, the senior manager for rich media marketing. But I'm doing that to build the culture so that we can inform people that have the power to make decisions about rich media, that it is not driving the business results that they originally want to put the funding against.
Don't you like the handoff? Isn't that cool? Right? You just hand this little thing off and then like the power. Yeah. Exactly, right? That's awesome. So we're at a great point, right? And we've heard from people at Google, John at Google, John at BuzzFeed, lots of Johns, Rob at Ogilvy One, all sorts of people about making that emotional connection, making that emotional connection. And that's huge to me, right? And really the root of it is culture, right? And what does culture thrive on? Is humans. So you're making a cultural, emotional connection with humans. How do you do that? You all do it. You do it every day. You're human beings. And root all, beyond video, beyond email, beyond all that stuff, you're marketers. You know how to talk to audiences. So we came to a very hard point when we were building this all out, and we said, is your culture of your business killing your video marketing potential? And if that's the case, and I will be guilty of this, and I'm going to go down saying this on a stage, you guys have to drive that. You're marketers. If your internal audience does not believe in your vision, you aren't marketing it right. If your VPs and SVPs and directors and all those guys, I've got like 6, so if they don't buy it, are you pitching it right? Are you showing them what they need to see? Are you targeting your audience? That audience should be a whole lot easier. You can get FaceTime with them. You can send them emails at 8 at night, right? You can make them little video clips. But targeting the audience that you're delivering to is just as important as targeting the audience internally to get sign-off, to get buy-in. I hear a lot of people, and I said it last year to Mark personally. I said, you know, it's like they don't get it. They just don't get it. I can show them data, right? I can show them everything. Oh, they'll never get it. When a year's time, my culture got it, and I've grown to 7 people on my team, and they do get it. I've had executive leadership see the Everyday Heroes series and feature it in public trade show events. We have one every year in Orlando with 8,000 people attending, and it was dead center in the middle of the room. They got it. And it was made for YouTube, and I put it in a physical locale. How did I get them? I targeted them. I showed VPs and executives things that would resonate with them, emotional stories about our customers. Now, it seems like we're playing it cheap, and there are some times when I do see emotional stuff that, oh, you're playing on a string that's getting real close. And speaking on personal reference, the piece for the Save Humanity, was it Save the Children, was phenomenal. Do not get me wrong. But I personally believe, my own opinion, is that it was a bit much. It was very in your face. And if that was the objective, they nailed it. But to me, it was a bit much. But I think in all of these emotional connections, you can drive everything, right? You can do all this stuff that you do every day. Act like a human. Talk to people. Talk to your audience. Take your data and find out where they're at. My favorite part of my job is going to see a customer and talk to them. Shoot the breeze. I'm not talking about products or services or resources, which we have a slew of that are amazing, that help them do their jobs. I'm talking about what they did last night, what they're doing tonight, what they drive, what tattoos they have, common interactions, and so on and so forth, relating like a human being. And I know that emotional connection is important, but the closer you can get to personal, individual connection, that's huge. right? And that's knowing your audience. To share some of these pieces that I showed you guys today with that actual customer base and have them write back and say, I never thought you could ever do anything with my job because my job's so plain. And then call them a hero. That's what it's all about. It's the guys that built this location, built this room, behind the scenes, the fasteners, the light bulbs, all that stuff. They spent months and months doing it, and we come in for 1-2 days. We have a great time, right? They spend their whole life doing it, and they're never honored. You don't meet the guy that built this place ever, right? To focus on them once is that real connection. And I think you guys can do it. So with that, I don't know if you have...
Let's take some questions.
Yeah? Because I was actually going to... Can I do a piece on you later? Because...
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sweet.
All right.
Do you guys have any questions? Right up front.
Thank you. When you were changing the culture, was it after, like, obviously there's a certain amount of requirement we have to do that they expect from us every week, like a certain amount of hours we have to work. Did you guys incorporate it within your team that you made that a part of the work when they were there 9 to 5? Obviously, we were never 9 to 5. Or was it more of an after work thing too, like you guys kind of had to do? I'm just asking, like, was it a part of your work system to change the culture, or it took a lot of time after work to actually change it?
That's very valid and good question. This is not a work ethic of Grainger, but we very much took this on ourselves. So when we would do a customer testimonial, we would go and do the customer testimonial, and in addition to that, we would seek out more stories, seek out more customers in the field because we were already on the ground. We were pounding the pavement. So we would ask the sales force and say, hey, do you have any compelling stories? And we would pick these up and fuel our series. Now, it's believed in. So yes, did we go rogue in the beginning? Absolutely we did. To prove our point? Yes. And now it's totally bought in on. But that's that, you've got to show proof, right? You've got to show POC. I say that all the time, and everybody back home is probably making fun of me. But you've got to show the concept, and sometimes you've got to go out there and do it, right? And to your point, very much, because we've had personal conversations, show them what you got, right? Pitch it, and you'll win with it.
If you're in the next stage, which we're very fortunate to be in as a team, right? We did the same thing. We used to budget for, when we were in the agency stage, we used to budget for 1 video, we used to produce 6. Nobody knew, right? Funnily, the other videos we produced actually drove the revenue. Doesn't matter, we drove the revenue. That was what got us the edge. We threw in a workshop with the videos. Nobody asked for them, but we could do it. Funnily enough, the workshops make bank, because IT decision makers like to talk to distinguished engineers at Cisco. Go figure. That wasn't asked. We did it. That's how we moved out of the agency phase, is we became an agency of reputation. When we moved into this phase, where we own the budget, they actually gave us the budget to do it and said, you know what, you guys really know how to do this. You take the budget, you do it. We'll stop fighting over it. We actually went and did what you do when you fight a war, to use an analogy. You don't just fight military. There's a hearts and minds piece to it. And it's a very particular strategy in hearts and minds. This is going to sound awful. But when you're confronted with a group that doesn't like you, you find the weakest link that likes you, that dislikes you the least. This is now what we are mastering. When we're going up against a particular product team or services team and all the VPs are in unison, no, we want a 3-minute viral video. None of us will give in. We look for that one VP that isn't really talking, that's kind of not digging it, and then we reach out to them afterwards. Are you on board with this viral thing? Why are you asking me? You know that's a strategy. Well, no, it's just that, we could do it, but we're also thinking we should do this other thing that we know will drive revenue. Ooh, talk to me. And so in the studio phase, that's what you do, is you build the hearts and minds. And more people come around because you break that link. And it's not that you're being sneaky. It's just you're trying to find more rational people.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work, very much to his point. You're going to make that 6-minute video that has
Kitty cats.
whiteboard illustrations in it, right? That's no offense to anybody who does whiteboard videos. I love whiteboard.
That's right.
Not
Tremendous
at
value.
all. But I'm saying sometimes you can't compromise out, right? But if you don't show them what good looks like, you'll never get there.
Right.
Right?
We've time for one more question. Anybody want to take a question?
So both of you guys have in-house teams that shoot this stuff, right? Do you feel like you could have achieved the same end in changing the video culture internally if you were working with an outside production team?
Oh, God, that was good.
Yours.
I was actually waiting for that.
Yeah.
So my background is agency. And I personally believe agency is a lot easier. And I hope nobody stabs me outside of this. But when somebody goes to an agency, they're bringing money. And they're saying, I need your expertise, make stuff. Make it, and I want to see results. Don't get me wrong. But I value your expertise, right? In an organization, it's not that they don't value your expertise, it's that there's a hierarchy, right? So it's, I need this thing, go and make it. And there's not a fiscal exchange, right? So it's not that you're not worthy, it's that you don't have to do that transaction. When you're writing a check for 6 figures to get your commercial made by Bonfire Labs, shameless plug, you're welcome. You're making an exchange, right? You're saying, I value your opinion and your expertise enough for this amount of money. Internally, it's way harder because they know you're an expert, don't get me wrong, but there's no checks and balances. There's no system in which you're exchanging, right? So you've got to prove yourself a lot more than you do at an agency or a production house. I don't know if...
It's the same situation. We use internal and external. We have much more external than internal. It's hard to justify hiring people at Cisco Systems that are DPs. You know, I'm sorry. What? Right? HR. I mean, it won't even make it to HR, right? So it is mostly external, but that's the point. Is the service level agreement, to use such a corporate term, right? The service level agreement is what makes it matter. If you have that service level agreement with a vendor or an agency, you rule. You have that with people internally, you rule. If you can put your neck out there and say that I guarantee this will happen, that's my service level agreement to you, a lot of people will stop asking, are you doing it internally or externally? They just want you to do more of it.
Okay, guys, I think we're, yeah.
Yeah, can we?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.